Welcome to today's episode of The Blueprint. This is the Women's History Month 2023 special episodes where I have the awesome guest host, authors and speakers, Jacqueline Thorne and Aida Sanchez. This is episode 8, Midlife Mental Health Matters. And Jacqueline Thorne, you can reach her across social media at Lady J Thorne or by email ladyjthorne@gmail.com. And the awesome Aida Sanchez, speaker, author, and coach across social media at I am Aida Sanchez, and email her info@ IamAidaSanchez.com. Woo woo, here we are.
Good
It's
evening.
episode
Hey,
8.
Ocho.
Yes, Ocho. It would have been Nueve, but we had a day when life was lifing and we did the replay.
Mm-hmm.
But we are at episode 8 and I'm super excited. In places where I could share the link, I did, and I'm going to post it again just in case people missed it. There is a link that I just shared across platforms that I can, where you can click on it if you want to join us in this live discussion about midlife mental health matters. So, where do we want to jump in?
Woo. The pool is deep.
Yes.
I can't jump in without my jacket.
No, what do you call it when the kids jump in those floaty devices, the floaties and the life
Uh-huh.
preserver?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All of that.
That would
All of
Yes.
be
that.
me.
Yes.
All of that. So we were talking about, we didn't know whether or not to call this episode menopause, health and mental health.
Mm-hmm.
But then when we were doing the deep dive, mental health and menopause kind of go hand in hand. And so we were looking at everydayhealth.com, where they mentioned that in fact many women report being happier after menopause than they were before. For other women, though, the rapid hormone fluctuations and the physical changes that are associated with menopause can lead to mood swings,
Mm-hmm.
anxiety, irritability, feelings of sadness, difficulties with memory and concentration, and even depression. So,
Yes. Definitely agree with all of those and many, many more. We talked a little bit about the fact that um, you hear about hot flashes and those types of things, but the mood swings, or we talked about the weight of it all, right? The physical weight and the weight of what your body does, what is prepared to do, besides give life, right? Women have, we have a lot of hormones, and that if that's imbalanced, then it could even lead to some psychosis, right? So again, that's all a version of mental health. And it's just important to recognize, right? I mean, it's such a prevalent reason for a lot of things in society, not just menopause. However, mental health should be taken very seriously, and we culturally have not always sought the help that we might have needed, whether that be a counselor, whether that be medication, whether that be a support group. We have to acknowledge, we all need some extra help in different areas. And, your mental, controls so much, right? You can't just schedule it in like a meeting, right?
absolutely,
Right.
absolutely. Because culturally, I think in the Black community, it's prayed away, right? Just pray about it. Pray it away, and it'll disappear. And how much of a disservice have we done to ourselves and our community with that approach,
Right.
right? As opposed to say saying pray maybe and see how God directs us, to the right therapist, the right support group. Ada, you mentioned natural remedies for individuals who don't like taking
Mm-hmm.
prescription medications or that sort of thing. So share a little bit about natural remedies that you found.
Well, I found quite a few natural remedies. There's a store called Wellness Chemist in New York City on 41st and Park Avenue. And also, there was one on Broadway. I don't know if it's still there, but I was one of their favorite customers. I would speak to the pharmacist and I would tell him what I was feeling and, and all of my symptoms. And he would you share different things that I can use. And of course, I leave out of there with a shopping bag full of stuff from cohosh to uh, there was another one, the valerian root. I can't remember them all because it was so many. But then there was also a cream that I used to use that I would put on my wrists, and that was excellent. It was being sold on Daystar, the Christian network, and I swear by that. Once I run out, I'm like, oh my God, I need my cream. It was like, oh my goodness. I said, I have to have it. I have to have it.
Mm-hmm.
But it really did help. Like, we have to, if you're not a medicine person like myself, I don't like it because, it can mess up your organs and whatever have you. And so I swear by, I don't like to use the word swear because I don't swear, but I did swear by those natural remedies because they help. So I say that to say, do whatever it is you have to do. The natural teas for to alleviate the stress.
Yes.
There's teas for you to help with the sleeping. Um, One of the ones I've used was valerian with chamomile or
Chamomile.
um,
Hmm.
lavender.
Yes.
And I still use it, because I mean, my symptoms aren't like they were back then, but it's relaxing after a long day of doing so many things. It helps you to sleep better.
Yes.
Right.
Calming.
Yes,
Calming. Hmm.
calming, definitely. Melatonin doesn't work for me. I guess everyone has to find what works for their body.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Absolutely.
Everyone's different. But yeah, I urge anyone who's having any symptoms or unable to find that ease to seek out some natural cures because they're out there.
Right.
Yes, they're available I'm in the DC. Well, I haven't found any place here yet in the Tampa area, but I know in Washington DC, I started my federal career at the National Institutes of Health in
Mm-hmm.
Rockville, and right across the street there was an apothecary that
Mm-hmm.
had all the natural remedies, and so you would come in and talk to the herbalist
Right.
and let them know what your symptoms were, and he or she would say, okay, here's the black cahush, here's the
Mm-hmm.
John's wort, or
That's
whatever
it.
yes, whatever the case was. and
Mm-hmm.
and let oh no, that's not true. See, thank you, Holy Spirit. Okay, so yes, so that was in Rockville. So then I got here to Tampa, and I was looking like, okay, it has to be someplace here that does a similar thing. And so I did. I found a medical practice,
Mm-hmm.
mind, body, and spirit that incorporates. They give you an option. So they give you the prescription option, that you go to the pharmacy and get filled, but they also give you an herbal option for people who like the alternative. And
Right.
so yeah, that's important. That is definitely important. And they incorporate massages and what is it, with the needles, acupuncture.
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 Yes,
I've done
yes,
it
Right.
all. I'm telling you, everything I can do, I
yes.
would do. I said, there's got to be something to cure this because, ooh, it's not a good
Yes.
state to be in without, having some type of treatment plan that helps with, balance your hormones or whatever it is.
And Jacqueline, you shared a story about the sports metaphor in medicine.
Yes. So I was thinking in terms of, what you might need and just in life, right? We talk about coaches all the time, right? And if your coach doesn't have a coach, right, then you don't have the right coach, right? Cheerleader, instructor, or however you want to categorize it. But at different times, we need different things, right? And I was thinking about, the different support systems we have and needing different things at different times, including doctors, therapy or therapists, acupuncture, and we've tried a gamut of different things. All right, it's what works for you, right? We're not trying to prescribe anything. It's just that sometimes you need a different type of help that you may not have, or you need somebody outside of your regular reach or resource to assist you, right? I started acupuncture in the pandemic, starting out for a back issue, right? And I was just surprised that it's about mind, body, and soul, right? It's about what's my concern at this time, even if it's a mental concern. We have evaluations before I lay down on that table, and depending on what I would get, washa or the needles or the cupping. Cupping has worked great for me as well. And so it's like a sports team. You need to have these resources or these specialists or additional help. And so if we're training, you need to exercise, you need to be in repetition, you know how your body works and what's there for you. So I compared it to, being on a sports team where you would have different resources or different specialists for different things, for motivation, or if you get hurt, it's the same thing.
I appreciate that, and we want to add that in there. We are not medical doctors, physicians. We are not giving medical advice, health advice. We're just talking about things that we have found to work for us. And as part of us sharing our stories, because hi, Trudell. She's saying
Hey,
hello.
True, my sister.
Hey, how are you? So we're just sharing the whole theme of Women's History Month this year is celebrating women who tell our stories. And so we're telling our own stories because these are things that we had a few years, right, where we weren't out in the public, and we may discuss these things in a beauty salon, maybe not, right? But we don't hear our own stories enough. And
Right.
we're everyday women like you. So we're just sharing some things that we have found to that have worked for us because our midlife mental health matters. And the team approach isn't everything else. I mean, because look, like you say, on a sports team, football,
Mm-hmm.
basketball, it's not just one coach. You got
Right.
defensive line, offensive line. You got people who work with the players physically. You got people who work with the players mentally. You've got people who work with individuals with their money. They got a whole team
Yes.
of people. And of course, we like to throw some Bible up in there too. The Bible even says that we're surrounded by a cloud of witnesses. There are people who have gone before us, who have blazed a trail, things that we don't have to redo, overdo, try to figure out on our own. So that's all we're doing is
Right.
sharing information and things that you may want to consider for
Right.
yourself.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
And I also want to throw in there perimenopause as well, right? You may still be in your cycle and you may be at a certain age and you may start getting some signs or you don't know what it is. And, you need to ask, right? Just like when you go to the doctor. I know somebody advised me a long time ago, go with a list of questions before you get in that office because their time is so few and they have a lot of patients and you need to get the best out of that time that you can. And if something is off or if you have a question, ask about it, right? So that you can you have some information or some decisions and you don't make an assumption about what's going on with you,
That's
Absolutely.
so true. Absolutely. It's during that time when I was still having a cycle was when I felt the worst.
Mm.
Yes, and that's when I was seeking, some type of remedy to help alleviate without all of my symptoms because it was really bad.
Mhm.
And the hot flashes I didn't suffer with as much as I used to hear people saying that they couldn't even sleep at night because they would sweat through their nightgowns
Mhm.
and different things. I didn't experience that, but mine was more feeling that anxiousness, that anxiety sort of thing, just like jittery and irritable and all the other symptoms that you feel during that time of the month, the cramping and just a lot of that stuff. But once I'm in post, I'll say I'm in post now. So once I got into post, it seems like everything disappeared for me, which is a blessing because some people still experience it. They say during post, but I don't feel like I do, not like that, like I did
Mhm.
during the pre. Yes. So.
That's interesting because yeah, the hot flashes, oh my gosh, those are real. Those are
Personal
Mm-hmm.
real.
summers.
Oh my god. Literally. And it's sometimes and I don't, yeah, they're not as bad as they were, but my gracious Lord today, when I tell you I would get, it didn't even matter the time of day. I would get dressed some mornings and have to sit, take another shower, get out of my clothes and take
Mm-hmm.
another shower because I had just perspired
Mhm.
through all my clothes. And like and like today I was in the airport and it's cold in DC, cold
Mhm.
compared to Florida, right?
Right.
So a little chilly in DC. And I'm sitting there in a short sleeve shirt and a fan, and
Mhm.
people are walking past like, what is wrong with her? Wait, and I was sitting in a terminal at a gate whose flight was to Boston. So
Mhm.
everybody
Mm-hmm.
going to Boston got scarves on, heavy coats, and I'm sitting there in a short,
Hi,
hey,
mommy.
hey,
Hi.
mommy. I'm sitting there in a short t-shirt and a fan. See, True is like I used to wake up so that's
Yes,
what I'm
I
talking about.
see.
Oh my gosh. And so it
Mm-hmm.
was and so everybody's looking like this lady is crazy. And I'm like, ask me how old I am and ask
Mm.
me what my experience is. Don't walk past me judging me and I'm about to melt down here in this daggone chair, you know, and then 10 minutes later perfectly fine and now I'm cold. So I'm wrapped
Mm.
up in the
Yeah.
in the scarf and I'm like there's no shame. It's one or two things. Either
Mhm.
That is so
and then
true. I know at
yes.
night. Go ahead.
No, and I'm saying when I left here, my air conditioner stopped working. So and it was 88-degree days,
Oh,
and my
Mm.
air conditioner wasn't working. Let me tell you, I had bush balls leaving out of here going to DC because I couldn't even straighten my hair. It was no need because it was going to be soaking wet. So I left here in bush balls to go to DC to cool off so I could wash my hair and blow dry my hair. And then, I was like, okay, when I come in here and they fix the air condition, one benefit of renting is that, so that the air conditioner is fixed. But I'm just saying those kind of things, you got to figure out what am I going to wear? I always have
yeah.
on short sleeves because a hot flash will come in a minute.
Mhm.
But Ada, to your point, I'm almost like if the hot flashes are all I really have to deal with, I'll take it. You know what I'm saying? I'll
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
oh
Mhm.
True said I had to keep my hair short because I would sweat out my perms. Look,
Truly speaking about hair, I know. Because listen, I would wear my hair wrapped in the office. And one time they called me in because they said, well, you can't have your hair. I said, excuse me.
Right.
I said, what's wrong? I said, it's neat.
Right. It's clean.
I can't, but yeah, those are the things we go through. It's just horrible. But even at night now, when I sleep with my blanket at night, I have to throw it off or I have to kick my foot, you know, out of the blanket. Like something has to feel some kind of coolness.
Coolness.
I have to. Yes. So I go back and forth. I get a little cold, so I cover myself again. So it's back and forth all night long.
Mhm.
It's just
But
funny.
and we're laughing because we can laugh now to know that we're not the only one,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Having these experiences, and how important it is to talk about it, because it's real, and it's
Yes.
and also let's talk about this. So then when we get to this stage of life, tell me if this has happened to you all. I start asking myself the question, okay, now what's next for me? What because now I'm not in the stage, haven't been there for a minute, but not at the childbearing stage or any of that. What's next? What is my life going to look like now for this phase of the journey? And even though, okay, we're not birthing children, we still have life in us to birth purpose
Mm.
and ideas, and things, and achieve goals and stuff. So, did you all have that moment where you have that come to Jesus conversation with yourself about, hey, what's next? What are we going to do? What does life look like from here?
I'll let you go first, Ada.
Yeah, I have had that talk. It's sometimes that little other voice comes in and tries to tell you, you had your run.
No, she
Just
didn't say you had your you had your run.
It's not
you had your
over.
Like,
run.
like I know, right? Like, go out in the pasture. We're gonna shoot you tomorrow. Like you a horse or something.
But then, like you said, we have purpose, and and our purpose is also to help those behind us and even alongside of us to fulfill their purpose, right? To birth their purpose. So I said, I know I cannot stop now.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter because I'm still here, because there's still work to do,
Mhm.
and I still have to fulfill that calling on my life, that purpose, and to help and empower my sisters to do the same. Because as I mentioned earlier, sometimes we feel like we're alone and we don't have anyone alongside of us to push us, especially if in community, or you don't have a coach or a mentor, whatever the case may be. But we have to learn that, and to teach others that we need each other, which is why collaboration is important, right? Is key, and that's why we're here, the three of us collaborating and speaking to all the women that are listening and that will listen later. But it's just so important to know that you're not by yourself. We're not by ourselves. We're not an island, and we can do so much more together.
Jacqueline.
Absolutely. It's a layered answer from me. I don't have children. I've had life in me before. It just didn't happen, and so for me, I've always thought about I don't have a continuing legacy, right? And that was part of me finally deciding to publish as well. And it's been pointed out to me, I don't have a child. I'm impacting many lives. So therefore my legacy will carry on. I have, a plethora of girlfriends and younger women now that I'm influencing and are coming in, and they need help, and they need something outside of what they know. So in that regard, I'm still birthing, right? Even though I'm
Hmm.
not physically birthing, I'm birthing, and my vessel is being used differently. And I'm impacted differently. So, that it is that has been the thought about the continuation, what's next for me, or how do I share my experiences, right? How do I provide benefit? And that's through opening our mouths, right, on this platform, and as well as this collaboration, opening my mouth like from a dream, right? Literally from a dream or spiritual um you know um thought, like reach out to your sisters, the the ones that that have the same belief system. That's number one, right? Ones that want to see you thrive, and ones that you prayed together during different times. And that's really, the thread that has sewn us together, right? Is our spiritual beliefs, and us, magically coming together in a book project, and we're, evolving from that point. So that's what I think about in terms of when you ask the question, like what's next, or what's going to happen. I can still share my experience, and I can still birth out purpose in a different way.
But that's why it's exciting, like you both said, that this season's theme is, women telling our stories, because that is the legacy.
Yes.
The books that you have written, that we write. That's why it's important to tell our story, is because these words will long outlive us. Right. There's a book that I read as a young girl, teenager, by Millicent Thompson. I think she's a bishop now. Millicent Thompson, called Don't Die in the Winter. And she talked about preparing, recognizing the signs, and preparing for the winter seasons of our lives, because we typically think winter is the season when things die, but actually that's where things go to live and revive. And to get re-energized. They go into hibernation mode. That's where the seeds go deeper in the ground. That's when things are fertilized and fermented, so that when spring comes, that determines how tall the tree will grow. What happened in the winter, that'll determine how vast the vegetation, depending upon what happened in the winter season, right? And so we could look at this time, menopause and midlife, is like a winter season, but it's a time to set us up for our next. What we do now determines, what does 70 look like? What does 60, 70, 80, 90 look like? If I happen to be in the nursing home, I want to be the purple haired lady. I'm gonna have me some purple hair. Trust.
Purple
Okay.
hair, yeah.
I want purple.
You want
I don't
purple,
know.
okay.
It's something about that Everclear purple hair. I just love it. So I'm gonna have me some purple hair. So I'm gonna be the lady in the nursing home with the purple hair, in a nice facility with the purple hair, talking about, baby, come over here. Let me speak a blessing over your life. What you got going on? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Still pouring
That's
into
right.
people's lives and things like that. And they're like, going over there and talk to Miss Lisa. You dealing with heartbreak. She can tell, baby, have a seat. Let me talk to you about that, and so on and so forth. So we do, because there are those who have children and who have lost children. There are those who don't have a relationship with their children. It's all kinds of circumstances and situations. So thank you, Jacqueline, for sharing that, because you have legacy in all the words that you share, and your pen to paper, and the lives that you influence, because we want to be spoken about, like we talk about the woman at the well, like we talk about Aretha Franklin, like we talk about,
the hem of his garment.
yes, yes. So that's good. That's good stuff. No, absolutely. I've had that conversation with myself.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And I also know I'm representative of a lot of women. I personally, I can probably count on both my hands, people that I've gone to school with that are either single, no children, and it's not a bad word. Some people choose not to. However, I'm still an auntie. I'm still, the big cuz, or I'm seeing the evolution, right? It's coming, right? I'm now becoming your wisdom, right? My wisdom is coming up now. It's time to use and to be wise about what you've learned about.
Yes. So, Pastor Miyoshi made a comment. Lisa has always been wonderfully extreme. Um, Pastor Miyoshi knows me from a child.
Oh,
Back
wow.
in the day, growing up in church, so she has definitely seen that the evolution of of my life. So thank you for that, Pastor Miyoshi, for chiming in. I don't even want to get choked up, but yes, so she knows Bishop Millicent Thompson when she would come and preach at our church, and when Don't Die in the Winter, and oh my gosh, so all again legacy. Women who came and shared stories and preached and poured into our lives at seasons when women weren't necessarily allowed to preach, couldn't
Mm,
be pastors, right? All we were relegated to were Sunday school directors or just working with the youth. Not that that's a bad thing, but relegated. But now, um, due to trailblazing women
mm, mhm,
who said it's not over until God says it's over, right? And even though we're in our 50s, we still have something to give.
mhm,
We still have life in our body and we still have purpose and there's still a plan. So, yeah, absolutely.
mhm.
Absolutely. Mm.
Great. Fantastic.
Midlife mental health matters. And when we talked about the medicine piece, when we were talking about when we injure ourselves, and we go to physical therapy, a lot of times the doctor will prescribe pain medicine. And I've heard people say, I don't want to take the pain medicine. But then
Mhm,
when we get to physical therapy, we can't, oh, I can't stretch. I can't do this. It hurts. Take the medicine so
mhm.
that we can be, so we can relax the muscles, so we can stretch them out the way that we need to. Because listen, we can't be in pain and heal at the same time.
Yes, absolutely. That just brought up for me, in steps, right? I've had insomnia for a long time, right? And for different reasons. But I can recall a therapist saying, "Do you remember how you drove to the office? Like what route you took? What did you see when you came?" And I really couldn't remember. And she was saying, "You're on autopilot, right? So if you're not getting enough sleep, then you can't think straight, right? And if you can't think straight, then you're not making good decisions, right? So then you say, "Oh, I don't need that medicine because you're not because you haven't had a full night's rest, right? So whatever it is, again, it's in steps, right? And one level leads to the next. So escape of sleep, is not a good thing, right? And so if you have other symptoms that are coming behind that, right, you have to think straight. So one thing will lead to other, but again, it may be a crutch, a temporary crutch. If you break your leg and you get the cast and you get or your arm or something, you get the stent, you need a little help, right? So you wouldn't say no. I don't believe in all of that. I don't want, right. So whatever it is, holistic, a pill, and what is it going to take, for you to function better, right? For your brain to function better, so that you can accept the help that you need is imperative, right? So that's what resonated for me when you spoke about that. It's layers, right? And if you're not functioning properly, I remember having medication for something that impacted, menopause, and I didn't know what it was, so I didn't take it, right? But I was sleep deprived because I was out of my insomnia medication, and then I didn't make a good decision, and it just snowballed into something horrible. But thank God for my sisters, right? People who are there looking out, like, something is off with you. What's going on with you, Jacqueline? Like this is not the Jacqueline that I know. If I'm sleep
Absolutely.
deprived, I'm not making good decisions, and I'm not taking the help that was given to me because I didn't understand it, then the snowball. So please help yourself, right?
Yes.
Symptom at a time, but help yourself. Get help.
And
Get
that's
some.
a sign of maturity.
It is.
Help. I need some help. No more this superwoman complex. No, I need some help. and I need help, and who do I need help from? Who do I call? If you need a ride, get a ride. Whatever, whatever the case may be, get the help
You need.
that we need. Yes, absolutely. Ada?
I have to piggyback off of that. Asking, right? Asking for help. We have to ask for help. We all need help in one area or another. So we should not feel that ashamed or prideful to open our mouth and ask for help. Because when we ask for help, you'd be surprised how it opens up conversation where the other person may be also needing help, and now you're helping each other. Because sometimes people just don't feel comfortable opening up to ask, but if you ask first, then you find out that you're not the only one that needs help. So it's so important. Ask. God
And
already told us, Matthew 7:7, ask.
we shall
Mm,
receive,
And
right?
yes.
mm-hmm. I
And
like
it's
this
go ahead.
comment here. I have to put on my glasses. Trudell says, growing up in church, the help was the pastor. You don't ask outside of the church. Again, we have to evolve, right? Thank God
Hmm.
we evolve, and it's not so small minded, right? It's not just in those four walls that you get your help, right? you
Or and
know,
it's like growing up at home when your parents said, what happens in the house stays in the house. But it's like, but you need help if you're having
Hmm.
some trauma or a
Hmm.
situation.
Right.
hmm
Mhm.
I
Wow.
mean, you wouldn't ask somebody to help you that's helpless themselves. You have to use discernment and wisdom to know who you're seeking help from. That's why we go to like-minded people who can counsel you with the word. They don't necessarily have to be in the church, right? There's
hmm
always a church without walls. I mean, but people that do know the word, they may not come into the church, but they are the church because we are the church. So it's okay. Like I said, as long as we discern who we're speaking to, and yeah. So
But that's like Jacqueline said, you break your arm, you're not going to walk around with your arm hanging off because I'm not going to the doctor, and your arm is hanging off. There's
right.
nothing you can do in that condition. You need to
right.
get fixed up and seen by a professional, a licensed, trained professional in order to get you back
Hmm.
where where we need to be. So,
Exactly.
yeah. Oh my gosh, this has been so good. This has been so good. So midlife mental health matters, and menopause symptoms, you're not alone. If we live long enough, ladies, that's what we're going to go through. It's a part of life. And it's just another season. It's just another season.
Hmm.
It is. It is.
Just another season. And this too shall pass. But see, this one we don't want to go but so fast because this is the third act. Look, this is the third act of a three-part play. Okay, so we need this to be as long as possible.
hmm Yes, your resources change, right? At a
Absolutely.
different time in life, you have different resources for different times in your life, and
Right.
we're forever evolving, right? Women and men, but women, we are multifaceted in that realm, right? It's one thing to go through. I know, even for me, I'll share personally. When I was menstruating, it was horrible. I mean, I had fibroids, I bled through mattresses. I mean, taking pills and being incapacitated for a couple of days of work or school. It was never a dream, like it was not, roses and sunshine and flowers. It was not a good experience for me. So there's always been some difficulty or challenge, right, in my metamorphosis, right. And by the way, I will go back to, let me reintroduce myself. It's pupa, and the cocoon is chrysalis. Going back to answering the question from a couple of sessions ago, I said I'll come back to it. Seems appropriate now. So that chrysalis that you're in, that when the caterpillar is fully grown, before it stops eating, and then it's metamorphosized before it becomes the butterfly. Right, back to the butterfly. Right. So again, in different phases, you need different resources. Whether it's pain, or it's cramping, or it's growing pains. It's a lot to process through this life. It's a lot to being a woman. It's just a lot to being a woman.
And one thing I wanted to mention is we have to learn how to advocate for ourselves, be our own advocate. You know how we advocate for our parents, we advocate for friends, we advocate for family, but we, at this stage of the journey, we're free to advocate for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
What do I need? What do I need to be the best version of myself? And let me get that, whatever that is, and speaking up for ourselves. Because when you were talking about the lack of sleep, Jacqueline, that just it really resonates. Yes, true about us having these layers. I had to go into a meeting at 4:00 in the evening. I know me.
Mm-hmm.
I can solve the world's problems before 2 p.m. Okay? After 2 p.m., I don't know what you're going to get. And
Right.
so I can't promise you anything.
It's a
You know,
surprise, right? It's like,
it's gonna surprise me. I'll be there,
mm-hmm,
right? Unless I
mm-hmm,
get a nap, I'll be there. But
Mm-hmm.
what value I can add, I'm not sure. And these people don't know me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I saw a 4:00 meeting come up, that I needed to be there face to face, right? I couldn't take it virtually or whatever. And so when I showed up at the meeting, the almost 53-year-old version of Lisa advocating for herself said, "Y'all don't know me." So this is a transparent moment.
yes.
Okay. It's 4:00. I'm done. Whatever you want to talk about, talk. If you need any insight, right idea, witty invention, it's not coming from me. Not at 4. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take notes. I'll have
Mm-hmm.
something for you tomorrow morning, but that's it. And they literally, it was 2 men. Okay. They literally sat there like, no, she didn't. Yeah. And just in case you didn't hear me, 4:00 meetings don't work for me. I'll be
Mm-hmm.
there,
Right.
but I have no value to add. And so they both took out their pens. No more
Meetings at
that you want Lisa at,
right.
and be productive
Mm-hmm.
and get something of quality. So
Mm-hmm.
learning how to advocate, because there was a time you couldn't tell me at 20 something that I will one day walk into meetings like that. You couldn't tell me at 30 that
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
what I would do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
Right.
talking about those layers and advocating for ourselves, and,
Mm-hmm.
getting the help that we need, and speaking up. Yes, that showed up on yesterday, and they were like, okay, we got it. And so, right. And so then the other day came around the corner. Are you leaving now? Oh, you see this bag? Yep, on my way, on my way out the door. So,
Mm-hmm.
And the same could happen for not being a morning person, right? Even if you get up early,
bang,
everybody's not a morning person.
Yes.
yes,
And so you need to know yourself, right? Like, this is, what would you prefer? I would prefer 10 a.m. I'm good at 10, right? If you want some production, some, the sphincters, or they flashing at that time. But before that, I'm not a coffee drinker. I drink tea. So
So
what we
again,
doing? Right.
so no need in
Oh.
setting an 8:00 meeting for Jacqueline to come in and show us her next greatest best idea for the organization.
No.
It just don't do it, right?
Mhm,
Yes,
mhm. Yeah.
yes, yes. These are facts. And but see, this is the beauty about the transition to this stage of life. Cause it's
Yes.
like take it or leave it, baby. Take it or
Mhm,
leave. You know?
mhm,
Yes.
mhm,
I'm so proud of you because I thought it was only me who would advocate for themselves. And they didn't like it, but hey, you
Yeah.
you do have to advocate for yourself and let people know because, like you said, you don't know me. Let me introduce myself to you.
Yes.
let you know certain things about me. And yes, we have to do that because
Yes.
people's expectations don't always measure up to who we are or, you know, what we could deliver at any given time.
And we
mhm.
have
Yeah.
it to give, right?
Yes.
We have
Mm-hmm.
it. We're
Mm-hmm.
skilled at what we do. We
Mm-hmm.
are well trained. We're seasoned in it. But
Mm-hmm.
if you want the best
Yes.
version of that,
Right.
10:01 for Jacqueline,
Mhm,
before 2 for Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
Ada, what's your time frame? You
It's
know,
mhm,
always before two.
see,
mhm.
before before 2.
Absolutely. I'm checked out after that. Really. I
Right.
get everything done in the morning,
Me too.
afternoon,
Yeah.
after lunch. That was it for me.
Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
Unless I get a nap.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I get a
Mm-hmm.
nap. So,
Mm-hmm.
yes, stuff in the evening, trust and believe. Lisa gets a little nap in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I
Yeah.
can go, several hours, a few hours into the evening time.
Right.
But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. Even a hot date, I need a nap.
Mhm, mhm,
After a work day, I need a
mhm.
nap
Yes.
Yes.
unless I go straight from work.
Mhm,
Yeah, that part.
mhm.
But anyway, okay, so you know what? We need to talk about that part too.
We do. We do.
Okay, so
We have another
Friday,
session.
yeah, so Friday at noon, we could talk about that because that's a Friday, right? And
Mhm,
Friday is
mhm.
typically date night
Date
or the
night.
kickoff to the weekend. So we could talk about that. So Friday is the last episode of our special season of Women's History Month. Jackie has me taking naps. See, that's what I'm saying.
I love a nap. That my mother and my sister teased me like she her with these naps. Like
Yes,
a nap is
yes.
good.
It is. A nap is everything. And this is coming from a 5-year-old who hated naps.
Mm,
Yeah.
Recharge. It
mhm,
recharges you.
Yes.
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 Mm-hmm.
mhm.
So then Friday's show is episode. It will be at noon. It's the last one for the special Women's History Month celebration. It is the last day of Women's History Month. So we can jump in on that, and that'll be live as well.
Yes.
Um, just a heads up, I haven't decided. Like we're having something special. We're having a barbecue at work, and anytime there's food, hello, I
Mhm.
like to be there. So I might be in my car. So I'm just
Okay.
letting y'all know in advance. But I'll have my laptop and everything set up if I do decide to be there for the barbecue. But we will still be live on Friday at
Yes.
noon. And we look forward to seeing y'all there. And send us some questions or put some comments in the feed across the various platforms of something that you want to talk about midlife and dating for those of
Mhm.
us who find ourselves single unmarried at this stage of life and what that looks like. Oh, come on, and
Woo.
advocating for ourselves and what it is we want and looking for and what it is we bring to the table and hope and pray that they bring to the table and how, come on now, life humbles us that it may not be 6'3", tall, dark, and
Come on
handsome.
now. Mm.
Mm-hmm.
But it can be
But
because God
it
said
can
you
be,
have not because you ask not.
it can be, but it might not
It
be.
might not. It might not.
But it might not be. And to be open
Yeah, that's true.
to receive. So I have some sister friends who are big on, teeth. The teeth have to be straight. And my thing is, I got health insurance, so I can get you some teeth. So there's some other things, right? So those are the kind of things that we'll talk about.
Okay, that's gonna be live. That's gonna be a good Friday
So
talk.
I'm just saying, some things you can buy and some things can be fixed, right? But then there's some things that can't,
Right.
like
There are
character.
Mm-hmm.
non-negotiables, right? There's certain
Correct.
non-negotiables, right. Mhm.
Character. You
Yes.
Mhm.
know, do you know God? Do you love God? You know, your faith, your practice, you know, your religious practices, all those kind of things. So anyway, we'll get into that. And you know,
Yes.
as it always goes, we always have a good time. So anyway, coming up is still Daddy's Girls. It's
Yes.
coming up. It's coming soon, and we'll talk more about that. We've been having such a good time. Thank you all so much for
Yeah.
joining us for this episode, and where we talked about midlife mental health matters. Have a great night, and we'll see you Friday at noon live.
Yes. Good night.